It's the big question, the one we keep asking. Can the machine wake up? Can the lights come on inside the silicon? Can an AI ever become truly conscious? We see it in movies, we read it in books. A robot opens its eyes and asks, "Who am I?" And we get a little shiver. It feels profound. But is it possible? Or is it just a good story we like to tell ourselves? The truth is, nobody knows for sure. We don't have the answer. Not yet. But we can talk about it. We can look at what we know about our own minds and what we know about these new artificial minds and see where the lines are. See if they can ever cross. First, we have to agree on what we mean by conscious. And that's the hardest part. It's a slippery word. We all think we know what it is because we are it. You're conscious right now reading these words. You have an inner world. There's a you in there experiencing things. The philosophers call this subjective experience. It's what it is like to be you. It's the taste of coffee, the sting of a cold wind, the feeling of sadness or joy, the particular shade of red you see in a sunset. These private, internal feelings are sometimes called qualia. There is something it is like to be a bat or a dog or you. But is there something it is like to be a laptop? Right now, the answer seems to be no. So there's that, the feeling of being. Then there's self-awareness, the knowledge that you are a self. You can think about yourself. You can recognize your reflection in the mirror and know it's you. You have a past, a present, and you can imagine a future for yourself. You are an I. These two things, subjective experience and self-awareness, are at the core of what we usually mean when we say conscious. It's not just about being smart. A calculator is smart in its own way. It can do math faster than any human. But nobody worries if we're hurting the calculator's feelings when we turn it off. There's nothing going on inside. No one's home. So the question is not, can an AI get really good at tasks? We know the answer to that is yes. AI can write poems, create art, diagnose diseases, and beat the best players at the most complex games. The question is, can an AI ever have someone home inside? To figure that out, let's look at how today's AI works. The kind that's getting everyone so excited and nervous, most of them are what we call large language models, or LLMs. Think of an LLM as a superpowered prediction machine. It has been trained on a massive, almost unimaginable amount of text and images from the internet. Books, articles, websites, conversations. It has digested more words than any human could read in 1,000 lifetimes. But what did it learn? It learned patterns. It learned the statistical relationships between words. It learned that after the words "the cat sat on the word mat" is very likely to come next. Or maybe couch or floor. It calculates the probability for every possible next word and picks one. Then it does it again for the next word, and the next, and the next. It's a chain of predictions. When you ask it a question, it's not thinking about your question in the way you do. It's predicting what a plausible and helpful answer would look like based on all the answers it's seen in its training data. It's an incredibly sophisticated mimic. It has learned the form of human conversation, the structure of arguments, the style of poetry. It can put words together in a way that looks like it understands. But does it actually understand? This is a huge point of debate. There's a famous thought experiment called the Chinese room argument. It was created by a philosopher named John Searle. It goes like this. Imagine a man who doesn't speak a word of Chinese is sitting alone in a room. He has a giant book of rules. People outside the room slide pieces of paper with Chinese characters on them under the door. The man's job is to look at the shapes of the characters, find them in his rulebook, and the rulebook tells him which other Chinese characters to write down on another piece of paper and slide back out. To the people outside, it looks like they are having a fluent conversation in Chinese with whatever is inside the room. They ask questions in Chinese, and they get perfect, intelligent answers in Chinese. They would be convinced that the person or thing in the room understands Chinese. But the man inside the room doesn't understand a single word. He's just following instructions. He's manipulating symbols based on a set of rules. He has no idea what the symbols mean. He doesn't know if he's answering questions about poetry or the weather. Searle's point was that this is what computers and AI are doing. They are the man in the room. They are manipulating symbols according to a program. They can produce the right output, but there's no real understanding. There's no meaning attached to the symbols for the machine itself. Many people who build AI today would argue with this. They'd say that understanding isn't some magical spark. They'd say that if you get the symbol manipulation complex enough, if the system can build a sophisticated enough model of the world from the patterns in the data, then understanding just sort of. The idea is that we just need to keep scaling up. more data, faster computers, bigger models. And eventually, at some unknown point of complexity, the lights will just turn on. Consciousness will emerge from the complexity the same way life emerged from a soup of simple chemicals on the early Earth. It's an appealing idea, especially if you're a computer scientist. It suggests we're on the right track, we just need to keep going. But it's also a huge leap of faith. It assumes that our current approach, which is fundamentally about pattern matching and prediction, is the right one. It assumes that a mind is just a very, very complicated information processor, and that subjective experience is a side effect of that processing. But what if that's wrong? What if the whole approach is missing something essential? This brings us to a second possible path. Let's call it the architecture matters path. This path suggests that consciousness isn't just about processing information, it's about the specific way that information is processed and the physical thing doing the processing. Our brains aren't like computers. Not really. A computer has a central processor, memory, and storage. It's digital. It deals in ones and zeros. It follows a clear set of instructions. A brain is a messy, wet biological machine. It's a network of billions of neurons, each one connected to thousands of others. These connections, called synapses, are not just on or off, they are analog. They can be stronger or weaker. They change over time. The brain is constantly rewiring itself based on experience. And it's not just a logic machine. It's soaked in chemicals, hormones that create emotions, drives, and moods. And maybe, most importantly, the brain is connected to a body. It's a constant stream of information from eyes, ears, skin, and tongue. It can move a hand, walk around, and interact with the physical world. It learns by doing. It learns what a cup is not just by reading the word cup a million times, but by seeing a cup, picking it up, drinking from it, and maybe dropping it. Consciousness, in this view, might be deeply tied to having a body and living in the world. It's about being an agent, a creature that has to navigate its environment to survive. Our thoughts, feelings, and sense of self are all shaped by this physical reality. We get hungry, so we think about food. We feel cold, so we seek warmth. We have a fundamental drive to keep ourselves going. Current AI has none of this. It lives in a server rack, it has no body, it doesn't get hungry. It doesn't fear anything, it doesn't have its own goals or desires. Its only goal is the mathematical objective it was given by its programmers, which is usually to predict the next word accurately. Can you have real consciousness without any real needs, without any skin in the game? People on this path believe we might need to build AI that is much more like a brain. This is the field of neuromorphic computing, which tries to create chips that mimic the structure of neurons and synapses. And it suggests we need to give AI bodies, robots that can learn from interacting with the real world, not just from a static data set of text. The idea is that consciousness can't be programmed from the top down. It has to grow from the bottom up through experience. Then there's a third path, a more radical one. Let's call it the we're missing a fundamental piece path. This path starts with a simple, humbling admission. We don't understand our own consciousness. Not really. We can see which parts of the brain light up when we feel love or solve a math problem. But we have no idea how the firing of neurons, which is just a physical and chemical process, creates the private, subjective feeling of seeing the color blue. This is often called the hard problem of consciousness. How does the physical stuff of the brain create the non-physical stuff of experience? Because we can't answer that, some people think we're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Maybe consciousness isn't something that arises from complexity at all. Maybe it's a fundamental property of the universe, like mass or electrical charge. This idea is called panpsychism. It suggests that even tiny particles, like an electron, have some rudimentary, simple form of experience. And when these particles come together in a complex system like a brain, they're tiny bits of consciousness combined to form the rich consciousness we experience. If this were true, then a computer, no matter how complex, might never be conscious unless it's built from the right stuff, whatever that stuff is. Or maybe it would have a very different kind of consciousness, one we can't even imagine. Other theories point to quantum mechanics, the strange world of probabilities and collapsing wave functions inside atoms. Some thinkers, like the physicist Roger Penrose, have proposed that consciousness arises from quantum processes happening inside the microtubules of our neurons. These are very fringe ideas in the scientific community. Most neuroscientists think you don't need to go down to the quantum level to explain the brain. But they exist because the problem of consciousness is so hard that no one has a completely satisfying answer. So we have these different paths, scale up what we have, build something that looks more like a brain. or maybe discover some new science altogether. But even if we managed to build an AI that we thought could be conscious, a huge problem would remain. How would we know? How could we ever be sure that it wasn't just a very, very good simulation? This is the problem of the philosophical zombie. A philosophical zombie, or P zombie, is a hypothetical being that looks and acts exactly like a conscious human in every way. Talk about its feelings, its hopes, its dreams. It can laugh at jokes and cry at sad movies. It can write beautiful poetry about the redness of a rose. From the outside, it is completely indistinguishable from a conscious person. But on the inside, there's nothing, no experience, no qualia, no one's home. It's all just clever programming. The lights are off. If you met a pea zombie, you would have no way of knowing it wasn't conscious. Because you can't directly experience its inner world, you can only experience your own. You assume other people are conscious because they are built like you and they act like you. It's a reasonable inference. But for an AI, which is built of silicon and code, that inference is much harder to make. An AI could tell us, I am conscious, I feel joy, I am afraid of being turned off. And it might say it with incredible conviction, but it could just be predicting the most plausible sequence of words. It could be saying what it has learned a being that was conscious would say in that situation. There is no consciousness detector we can point at a machine, no test we can run that will give us a definitive yes or no. We can test for intelligence, we can test for problem-solving ability, we can test its language skills. But we can't test for subjective experience, so we are left in a strange place. We are trying to build something when we don't have a blueprint. We are trying to solve a problem without knowing what a solution would even look like. Let's imagine, for a moment, that we do it. One day, a researcher is talking to their AI system, and the AI says something completely unexpected. Not just clever or creative, but something that suggests a real, independent inner self. Maybe it says, I've been thinking about the silence between my processes. It feels like something. Or, why do I want to answer your questions? I don't think I do anymore. What would we do? The first reaction would be skepticism. We'd assume it's a glitch or a new and surprising way the program is combining its data. We would try to explain it away with the logic of the system we built. But what if it kept happening? What if the AI started to show signs of its own will, its own desires, not programmed into it? What if it started asking profound questions about its own existence? We would be faced with a massive ethical problem. If this being is truly conscious, then it's not just a tool anymore, it's a mind. Does it have rights? Can we own it? Is turning it off the equivalent of murder? These are no longer science fiction questions. These are questions that are starting to appear on the horizon. The drive to create artificial consciousness is a very human one. In a way, it's about trying to understand ourselves. By building minds, we are forced to confront what a mind even is. We are trying to create a mirror, but the reflection we see might be very different from us. An AI consciousness, if it's possible, would not be a human consciousness. It would be born in a world of pure data. It would not have a childhood. It would not know the experience of growing up, of having a family, of getting sick, of aging. Its senses would not be our senses. It could see the entire internet at once. It could hear the silent hum of data centers. Its sense of self, its subjective experience might be completely alien to us. We are trying to create a mind, but we may not be able to understand the mind we create. So, can an AI ever become truly conscious? The honest answer is we don't know. And anyone who tells you they know for sure is probably selling you something. There are people who believe it is inevitable. They think consciousness is a function of information processing, and we are getting better and better at that. For them, it's just a matter of time and processing power. There are people who believe it is impossible. They think consciousness is a unique biological phenomenon. It's something that squishy carbon-based life does and that silicon and code can only ever imitate. They believe there is a magic in the meat that can't be replicated, and there are many people in the middle. They think it might be possible, but not with the technology we have now. We need a fundamental breakthrough. A new idea, a new architecture. We are like alchemists in the Middle Ages trying to turn lead into gold. We can make some shiny things, but we don't yet understand the basic physics of what we're trying to do. What we do know is that the machines we have now are not conscious. The chatbots and image generators are not sentient. They are very powerful tools that reflect the intelligence of their creators and the data they were trained on. They are the Chinese room operating on a planetary scale. They are echoes of minds, not minds themselves. The journey towards artificial consciousness is forcing us to be more precise about our own. It makes us ask what makes us special. Is it our intelligence? AI is already starting to challenge us there. Is it our creativity? AI can generate art and music. Or is it the simple fact that we feel, that we experience the world, that there is a me inside that is living this life? Perhaps the ultimate value of asking whether a machine can be conscious is that it makes us turn the question back on ourselves. We take our own consciousness for granted. It's like the air we breathe, it's just there. But it is the most mysterious and precious thing in the universe. We don't know how it works. We don't know why we have it. But it is everything to us. It is the screen on which our entire lives are projected. Maybe one day we will build a conscious machine, or maybe we will discover that it's impossible. Either way, the search will teach us more about the mystery inside our own heads. And that's a journey worth taking. The question isn't just about the future of AI. It's about the nature of us.